Good evening, everyone out there. Welcome to Sober Dad Sunday. My name is Matt, and I'm glad you all decided to join us wherever you are, whenever you're accessing this. This is Sober Dad Sunday, but this is a conversation for everybody. You don't have to be a sober person, you don't have to be a dad, and for that matter, you don't even have to be accessing this on a Sunday because these things record and live stream or stream for whenever. Um, so we're trying at 10 o'clock Eastern time for a little while, seeing if that might make it a little more accessible for folks. Appreciate you joining if you're taking a break from watching the Grammys or something like that. Um, yeah, just want to see how everybody's doing out there tonight. Curious for those that maybe did a dry January. How did that go for you guys? Was that a good thing? Was it a necessary cleanse, a good reset? For some folks after a lot of the holidays with a lot of extra eating and drinking and things like that. Um, I tried that a couple of times before I stopped drinking altogether, and it was always felt really good. And there was a part of me that when February would roll around, I started drinking again. I was like, it actually felt kind of good. Took me a while to get back around to the maybe I should just quit altogether. But hey, that was me. How'd it work out for you folks that are trying that? So this week, among all the things that are going on in the world, I noticed a thing out there on Twitter. Well, it's called X now, isn't it? I'm actually not on it anymore. Once it became just a haven for white supremacists and stuff. But out there on X, Elmo from Sesame Street is still on there apparently. And Elmo just put out this just kind of generic kind question of, hey, how's everybody doing? And their response was just like kind of ridiculous. All these people, a lot of them were being silly and stuff like that. Talked about what a mess the world is and things like that. But a lot of other people just started pouring themselves out to the social media account of a puppet from Sesame Street. I just thought that was like really amazing. The folks who are doing that. Part of it made me think back to the times when my kids were much smaller and I'd watch Sesame Street with them and they'd be so excited to see Elmo on the screen. And I just thought, oh man, they're big and cool now. But it did make me wonder for the folks that did that. And I'm glad. First of all, I'm glad that they had a space they felt safe doing that. It can be easy to go, well, what the hell is this? If it's it's a social media kind of a puppet. But for a lot of folks, that was a space that they felt safe, saying things were actually kind of tough. Stuff was going on that they didn't really have anybody to talk to or didn't have anywhere else to pour this out, whatever the case may be. And so on the one hand, I was really glad. Great, y'all have space to do this. It also makes me wonder why we don't feel like we have spaces to do that elsewhere. Maybe we legitimately don't have those spaces. Or maybe there are other spaces where we could if we felt like it, but we don't feel safe enough, or we feel like folks don't want to hear that stuff. I don't know. How many of you guys have, see somebody, walking down the hall, maybe at work or school or church or coffee shop, wherever. Hey, how's it going? How are you? Oh, I'm good. How are you? And y'all barely even break stride while you're having that quick little conversation. And you're asking that same question, almost asking out there on Twitter, what would happen if we stopped, or we even just slowed down and broke stride a little bit from all of our business, and someone said, hey, how you doing? Oh man, here's actually what's going on, and yada yada yada. I wonder what would happen when the person who did that, who just expected to have that flyby conversation, suddenly said, oh, they're actually answering the question. And it's more than just good. Maybe they're doing good. Well, why? Hey, I'm doing good. My kids, got this thing and blah, blah, blah. Or if they said, I'm feeling okay today, but actually seeing you brings me up, gives me a smile, makes me feel better already. Thanks for asking. What happened if we slowed down and did that in person? Now, maybe it'd freak the other person out. I don't know. It might freak me out a little bit sometimes if I am doing that. And I always kick myself after I do it. I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I say, hey, how you doing? When I'm not really asking. I'm just kind of acknowledging their presence. Would it freak you out if somebody did that? If somebody answered that flyby question, hey, here's how I'm actually doing. I wonder why it is that we do that. I wonder why it is that I do that. And I wonder why we feel like we have to just put up this big, brave front that everything is wonderful all the time. We feel so oppressed by the expectations, or at least what we perceive as the expectations all around us. And we can't just take that space to be vulnerable with each other. Now, I know for a lot of us, a lot of those spaces where those things are kind of nominally offered aren't really safe spaces. Maybe we'll share, we might even be brave enough at some point to share what's going on, and then the person really just starts trying to solve our problems or tell us why they're not that bad. Or the other person might say, well, this thing happened to me, and suddenly it's like a monologue about them. Or maybe sometimes those spaces aren't safe because we might not really trust that the other person would hold that in a good way for us. Most of y'all know I'm a chaplain. I work with I work in hospice care right now with folks that are facing end of life. Before I did that, I've been a pastor for many, many years. And I can't tell you how many conversations I've had where people say, oh, I don't tell this to anybody. Or even people I've known for years, but you, this clergy person, I'm going to tell all this stuff. And I'm simultaneously grateful and just a little bit sad that those folks don't have that space where either space where they were genuinely safe to share that, or for whatever reason they felt like they couldn't or just didn't take that time. It's kind of the same way that I'm glad that people would pour their heart out to Elmo's Twitter account. Great, I'm glad you got it. But I'm also a little sad that there are so few spaces in the world for whatever reason. We can't just be vulnerable and admit that, hey, I've got this other thing going on. Because on the occasions that I do see somebody start to get real and say, here's what I have going on, so often what I feel is relief. Oh, wow. What this person just bravely shared? Oh, man, I'm struggling with this thing too. Wondering if I'm an imposter, wondering if what I do makes any difference. And it's like permission giving. I know that I'm not the only one going through this particular thing, and I get so grateful that this person took the risk to share what was up. That's if I can avoid the temptation to either try to fix their problem or tell them it's not so bad or turn it back on me and be like, hey, this thing happened with me. Maybe those spaces to be vulnerable aren't there because most of us aren't really good at listening. Just being present and holding space for someone to share that stuff without any need to respond or fix or anything else. Over the years that I've been in various types of ministry, I have appreciated more and more the ministry of presence and the power of just listening and how amazing it is to be listened to know that somebody is there and not just preparing their own response, but they care enough to hold that space in their own life and their own heart to hear me. And that's something I try hard to do for folks, whether it's in my professional context or otherwise. And hey, sometimes I even succeed at it, which is a really good feeling when someone tells me how they feel really listened to. Which I know for folks in my profession, we talk a lot and we try to tell folks wise things. Heck, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm staring into a camera, hoping that whoever's on the other end of this live conversation is hearing this wise thing that I'm saying. But as I've gotten older and gotten more experienced, I've found out that how little most of those wise words that I put out there mean and how quickly they're forgotten and how much it matters when I just took the time to listen and hold space and to say in a very profound way that that person matters. I know it's something that means a lot to me when someone is willing to listen. Whether it's somebody in a personal space, whether it is a quick conversation on the side, phone, text, or even if it's the Twitter account of a puppet. Friends, I hope as you go throughout the week, you have some space, some people, or even just one person that you feel safe to give a real answer to that question. Hey, how are you really doing right now? And maybe the answer really is, hey, I'm good. Things are great right now. And thanks for giving me this quick moment to celebrate that with you. I appreciate it. I hope you have those folks in your life. More importantly, I hope you can be that person in somebody's life. When you ask that same question that Elmo did on Twitter, hey, checking in. How's it going? And something about the way you put that out there lets that other person know, oh, they mean it. They care. I hope that for all of us this week, that we're listening to each other and we have spaces to be listened to. Hope everyone has a great week. I wish you blessings and success in trying to be the best person you can be for the folks around you because they matter, and trying to be the best person you can be for you because you matter. See you next week, friends.